But, speaking of reboots and changing things up again, we got our next topic here, which is Superman Legacy title change. Raul, would you like to read this one here?
Sure. So here's the article from Hollywood Reporter, a little excerpt. Drop the legacy. James Gunn revealed that his new Superman movie will simply be called Superman. Writing in a post celebrating the first day of filming, he said, "When I finished the first draft of the script, I called the film Superman Legacy. By the time I locked the final draft, it was clear that the title was Superman. Making our way to you, July 2025." Along with the post, he shared an image of the Superman logo from the film, which was previously called Superman Legacy. The snow dusting on the logo suggests a scene set in the Fortress of Solitude, Superman's Arctic fortress.
So we got a picture on the bottom here, which, the viewers or listeners won't be able to see it, but we can. It's
Yeah,
a very big Superman crest that kind of resembles the
the chest
Kingdom.
plate.
It's the chest plate. It kind of looks like the Kingdom Come style
Mm,
of Superman, except it's a different color scheme. The yellow would be black, and the red's still red. But that does ponder a lot of questions. But I want to hear your first thoughts on that, Raul. How do you feel about all this?
I love it. Superman. Just call it Superman. I mean, I eventually got used to Superman Legacy, because I feel like that's how all movies are now. You can't just have, you gotta have the title and you gotta have a subtitle, especially with sequels. It's like,
Mm.
Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek Beyond, like we got away from, well, I mean, sometimes just saying one, two, three, and four is boring, but I don't know. At first I was like, Superman, like, why can't we just call it Superman? I eventually got used to it. But then James Gunn makes this announcement, announcement, bleh, and I'm like, yes, thank you. That's perfect. It's just Superman. Just this is a brand new rebooted universe. You don't need. I feel like putting a subtitle kind of implies that it's still a continuation of something because you feel like you need to separate it from everything that came before. Nah,
Hmm.
man, it's a rebooted universe, rebooted series of films. Just come out the gate, Superman. You don't
Hmm.
need to. This is it. This is our Superman for this universe. It's just Superman. You know what I mean? Um,
It's
so,
also a nice. It's a nice change of pace from Man of Steel. Like Man of Steel
yeah,
feels very harsh and like hardcore and dark,
yeah.
whereas Superman just feels you sense that bright
It's
energy.
hopeful. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's and yeah. That's the thing. It's Superman. Just I think Man of Steel kind of yeah. We got it associated with kind of the darker Zack Snyder universe. So Man of Steel became synonymous, at least with me, with the darker universe. Darker universe. You go back to Superman. It's just like it just harkens back to the older Superman, the Christopher Reeve Supermans, the comic. I mean, just I hear Superman and I think optimistic.
Mm.
And it's just, again, yeah, it's simple. Just call it Superman. I'm so happy to hear this. Um, yeah. What comes out? What pops out to you, Kevin?
Well, first things first, the photo. So let me
Right.
let me
Yeah.
go back to the Kingdom Come situation here, because Kingdom Come is a comic book series for Superman and the Justice League, where Superman is an old retired superhero. He has not been the hero of the world for quite some time, and he notices that the new generation of superheroes are starting to go down a path that is not expected of superheroes. It's going down a path that it's just not right. It doesn't sit right for Superman. So he comes out of retirement and finds all of his old Justice League buddies, and they all join forces to help the new generation of superheroes, find their path, find their proper path that they're supposed to go into. And, it's interesting that they're doing that. They're giving us those hints right now at the beginning because it's almost symbolic of the past DC stuff. Like, it's two things. It's like story wise, it could be about the characters Superman meets and he introduces what it means to be a true good superhero, filled with joy and hope, and how he can introduce that to these newer superheroes he hasn't seen before in this movie. But also, it's James Gunn's way of saying, hey, listen, everything we used to do in the DCEU, we're gonna fix that. Like, this is the new representation of what it means to be a superhero. Like, this is what it means to be Superman and be full of hope and joy and all this stuff. So that alone, I mean, clearly I'm making all that up in my head of how I see what the content's gonna be like, but that alone does excite me to think that maybe there is hope in what they want to do in this, both in the storyline itself and outside, or just for the corporation of Warner Bros. And what they're doing with this content, you know? But the other thing I wanted to bring up was the snow in the photo, which
Right.
definitely shows us the Sanctum of Solitude, you know, the old Superman
Fortress of
cave,
Solitude.
the Fortress of Solitude. He is clearly going to be using that in this movie. I think with Superman, there's also this thing of, I mean, hell, the word solitude is in that name. He's Superman. He is someone who is not always understood because he's Superman. Like, he's the best thing there is. Like, he's the best superhero of all time. He's the granddaddy of superheroes. It's kind of hard to understand someone when they're just so perfect and everybody else is so flawed. And so when I see that there's like this huge cast of superheroes that are going to show up in this movie, I already see the idea of them trying to turn on Superman, or like they see him as a threat and he has to step in and like present himself as what he is and what you should all be. Like, I am setting an example for what it means to be a superhero. Kingdom come! I mean, I'm going full circle again, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where it's bringing me right now. So, and also not to mention, we haven't just seen this. We've seen cast pictures showing up this past week.
Right.
James
The
Gunn
table
did
reads
the
and
table read. The girl who plays Brosnahan, Rachel Brosnahan, who plays oh
Lois
my God,
Lane?
Lois Lane. My brain is blanking right now. She just did a TikTok video with Nicholas Hoult and David Corenswet, who plays Superman, showing up in the videos on their day one of filming. And so you could tell, like, media-wise, we're gonna start getting more of this stuff throughout the next year. Because this comes out in 2025. I think.
Of
Christmas.
course, Nicholas Hoult, you can see in the pictures, he's already got the head shaved.
Yeah, so
Already got that bald head.
we're in. We're not trying to do a Jesse Eisenberg hair kind of filled dude. And I really hope that this version of Lex Luthor ends up being more like the animated series of Superman. Because if we could get like a billionaire, super smart Lex Luthor, it really helps us with the opposite side of Superman. Like, Superman's this hopeful dude who fights with his fists and stuff like that. Lex Luthor is this horrible person, super evil, who has all the money in the world and all the brain power to fight back. So, like, Superman can't fight him by punching him down. He has to fight his mental war as well as a physical war. So, I don't know. There's a lot of really cool stuff, and this picture alone really hyped me up for it. But, yeah, Superman's gonna be cool, man.
Pretty
It's gonna be
exciting.
cool.
Pretty exciting.
Can you tell I'm a James Gunn fan? Like, I feel like this dude gets it, you know?
Yeah.
Just from these pictures alone, I'm already, my mind goes everywhere. Like, I'm like, how can I do all the research I can now about what's going on?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited for what we could potentially have to look forward to with James Gunn. Like, you know, it's weird. He's been known for these kind of weird and eclectic and out of left field movies with this quirky style of humor and stuff like that. But those little moments in each of those films, you know, even in like the Guardians films and all that stuff, he injects these little, the Suicide Squad, there's these little moments of drama that really do ring true and really have, just seeing that, you can see the potential for what he can do with something like Superman, you know, getting away from the comedy and all that stuff. I can see it. I can see it, and I'm really excited for it.
Also, I'll throw in one last thing before we move on to our next topic here. I recently just saw a trailer for another Warner Brothers DC project called, I think it's like The Suicide Squad Gets Isekai'd. So it's Suicide Squad, but it's an anime version of them where if you've never heard the word isekai, isekai basically means you, the individual, got thrown into another fantasy world, and now you have to try to survive in this other world that you're not from. So the Suicide Squad gets thrown into this anime fantasy world, and they're all anime characters now, and you hear Harley Quinn speaking Japanese. Hopefully they dub that in English. That'd be pretty cool.
Hmm.
But my brain exploded because I was like, I love anime, I love Suicide Squad, I love James Gunn, and I feel like James Gunn could have easily been like, nah, don't do that, like don't do it. But he was like, greenlit, that's fine, you can put that out there, it's cool. Either that or maybe it was already too late by the time they started working on it that he couldn't really cancel it. I don't know what's going on, but either way, that's pretty hardcore.
Well,
And
they still got the Harley Quinn show going, so it's not like
that too, oh
it's
yeah.
not like he wants everything that comes from DC, be it live action or animation, to be part of the DCU, or
Right,
maybe live action, except for there's the Elseworld stuff, right? So
right.
yeah, I mean, so I think he's fine with stuff like that happening.
Dude, it's just blowing my mind. It's all just blowing my mind. Everything James Gunn's been doing, and I am not afraid to say it. I'm a James Gunn fan. Blowing my
Yeah.
mind.